Yes, you did read correctly. This is my Halfling Vampire Counts army. As you see, the premise behind this is that Sylvania is close to Stirland, and close to Sylvania is the Moot. In the story, basically, there's a vampire who gets beaten and run out of Sylvania and is forced into the Moot and forced to build an army out of what he finds there, which are halflings. And the idea behind this is as a pathetic force as it is possible for a Vampire Count's army. Now here you see Conrad. He is only there until I find a vampire that looks sufficiently disgusted and embarrassed to actually be the vampire in the army. These are my Fellbats. I was thinking of replacing the Fellbats with just a single ordinary regular sized bat on a 40mm base just to make it look more pathetic and silly, but I haven't got around to doing that yet. Here you see most of my troops laid out as you would on the you'd see them on the battlefield. Here we have my Crypt Ghouls. I used Pygmies, Games Workshop Pygmies that they made in the 1980s as my ghouls. For the most part, my spirit hosts are made out of halflings, but you can see in the back there's other figures in there too. Just easy ones to pick up and put in there. This unit I use is skeleton or zombies. They're mostly halflings, but I also put in some other cool figures that I managed to get. You can also see a unit filler there that I had my painter put together. Most of my figures are Citadel figures, Games Workshop figures, but these are not. I have some that are actually undead halflings for Blood Bowl from another company. I just can't remember what the company is. Here's another picture of my unit fillers. They're from 80s, Games Workshop figures from the 80s. This unit is not part of my Halfling Vampire Counts army. This is the Cursed Company, but I do have it as backup, and it's too cool not to put in here, so here it is. These are also some cool miniatures that are not part of the army, but I've got them. I want to show them. These fill the role of my dire wolves, but they're supposed to be kind of pathetic, so they're just my dire doggies. Those are some from a Wood Elf figure, I think, most of them. Here we have a two-headed doggy that's really cool, so he's in there also. In the next two coming up are two really cool figures, once again from the Undead Halfling Blood Bowl set. I particularly like the poodle over there. When I can remember and I have the money, I'll buy some more of the poodle. These guys are really too big and nasty to be in my army, but they are just so cool I had to get them. They're actually Space Wolves, the Space Wolves Frisian Wolf Pack from 40K. Once again, they're not really that expensive. They're $5 a piece, like 25 bucks for 5 of them. But they are so cool. I don't know why anybody else would use anything for dire wolves other than these. They're just fantastic looking figures. A friend of mine in another state painted these for me, and when I pulled them out of the package that came in the mail, it was like looking at something from the Museum of Natural History. I was just astounded about how well they came out. Here are my 3 banshees. Once again, the halflings are just there to look as pathetic as possible, just like the rest of the army. When you see this army, it's supposed to be like, come on, am I really fighting something as silly as that? On the left here we have the Battle Forges Halfling Vampire, and on the right, once again, we have a vampire from the Undead Blood Bowl set. Here you see another the Battleforge Cook, who's dead, and also I think they call the other one the Executioner, and then 2 other Games Workshop Citadel figures. Here's your standard Games Workshop coach, which is something I will use in my army. This Vargolf was too mean and nasty to have in my army, so I had a halfling mounted on it. It's mounted with a magnet, so it comes off and on. Very cool little figure there. Okay, the next two vampires here are the actual generals in my army. The head vampire basically ran out on him because he knew what was going to happen. He knew that this army was going to go down real quick, and he didn't want to be there as part of it. I'm going to later on write about it, and maybe I'll include it in the video towards the end. One thing I really like about these two figures is the little kitty cats that they're carrying. I have a thing for little tiny creatures, so it's very cool. This is just a very old half skeletal rider, and I like picking up weird little things like this and collecting them and putting them in the army. And here's a Wraith that's in my army. This is another unit that looks too powerful for my army, but I saw on eBay somebody had made Graveguard out of great swords with skeletal heads, so I picked that up and then had my painter paint them all in sterling colors and finish the unit. Really cool unit. One thing I've seen Vampire Counts players do is get a big bad monster and put their general on it and then run it out there and get it killed and then wonder why they lose. Well, I'm going to do exactly that just because this is a silly army and I just want to have fun with it and be silly with it. So I have a halfling mounted on my Terrorgeist. And here is my last monster, a zombie dragon. Yes, he is so small and pathetic that he cannot carry a rider. He has to drag one along in a chariot. Here I show it in a couple different angles just so you can see what it looks like. That's my army. If you want to leave any comments or you have any ideas for other units, I'd be willing to. I'd love to hear them. Also, if you'd click on like, I'd appreciate that too. Once again, if you want to see other halfling armies around the world, go to the Howl's Yahoo group, the Halfling Army Lovers Support Group, and you'll see other halfling armies, and sometimes people will talk about them.